Howdy, banger pals. Blayne Smith welcoming you to another Overkill Reviews Bangers Weekly Metal Review Show. And to the surprise of no one, this week I'm reviewing... Yes, it's the new album from HOODED MENACE called Lachrymose Monuments of Obscuration. It comes out today, October 3rd on Season of Mist, and everyone on the Patreon that said you wanted to have me tied up in the corner while other people reviewed it, I'm coming for you. I know where you live. Formed in 2007 in Finland, HOODED MENACE are a death doom band and also my favorite band, full stop, favorite band for well over a decade at this point. My first appearance on BangerTV was the Death Doom Lockhorns, where I said HOODED MENACE was one of the all-time greats of the genre, to which the audience responded,
No one has heard of this band.
No one has heard of it.
and I took that personally. That was 8 years ago. Since then, they have released 2 of their best albums, with their last album being one of the biggest of their career. This album does have a big shakeup in longtime rhythm guitarist Timo Hananen departing, but it's always been Lass's project, so on paper that shouldn't have an effect. Or will it? Ominous Halloween foreshadowing? Daniel, give me some Halloween effects. No, it did not have an effect. Look, you've hopefully all heard the singles and know that at the end of the day, unless they completely lose their minds, the guitars will always have that signature last tone that makes everything sound amazing. On the band Lightning Bolts DVD, I don't know, man. Look, I got some random references. Bass Brian said he felt like if someone just took his setup, if he gave it to anyone, they could pluck a string and it would sound cool. I feel like that is very true for HOODED MENACE. Thankfully, Lasse's an amazing guitar player and plays amazing guitar through it, and hey, that rules. Every track has something happening on the guitar that's a complete show stealer. And I don't mean in some wild attention-grabbing solo way, those exist, but that's too easy, man. Lass can cause that kind of impact with a phenomenal riff or just great piece of songwriting. From the opening track's familiar HOODED MENACE sound, tinged by this new album's vibe, to the sudden gallop switch up in the middle of Portrait Without a Face, every song has its own identity. There's not a track I'd want to cut or even trim. I know this because the clip I'm going to play you is almost a minute long, even though they're supposed to be maximum 30 seconds. Sorry, guys, but I was trying to select a 30-second chunk, and I couldn't because even the bass and riff leading into the solo, I was just like, that could be a clip. It's just all so good. After the first 2 albums established HOODED MENACE's sound, each record has fiddled with the formula, introducing elements of funeral, atmospheric, melodic, but as quick as they come, they go, with each experiment generally only lasting one album, though obviously subtle traces remain moving forward. Their last record was their biggest sound signature switch up, integrating heavy metal to great success and great popularity. For the first time, they've gone back to a once tapped well, and the heavy metal sound returns on this album. But it's still Hooded Menace, so while the last record was more general heavy metal sound, this is a very 80s heavy metal sound, and arguably maybe even just 80s, because there are some 80s non-heavy metal elements in there as well. That does make this record so fun, because obviously the 80s were the most fun decade of all time. There's a part on Lugubrious Dance where the guitars are all chugging away together, and you can kind of clearly picture the band doing one of these together in unison. That is until you remember that Lass is playing all the guitars, and he's not particularly interested in playing live for some reason. Who gets into making things to not do it in front of a live audience? I don't understand. I've still seen him live twice, though. It's all good. And dear God, I love the intro. Me in love with an intro? Who is she? That 80s is overflowing, and it sounds like if Blind Dead was a movie shot in California in 82, and the scene is some teens getting it on in a haunted church as zombie Templars slowly rise in the background unbeknownst to them. I could honestly go for a whole album of just this. Just have Last do soundtracks to some classic movies. I would love that. I hold records like this up as the perfect example of how a band can age and expand their sound to appeal to a wider audience without sacrificing being, you know, a metal band. This is a late Hooded Menace record that, because of an injection of 80s, which included goth vibes, sounds a lot like an early Paradise Lost record. Certainly sounds like the best Paradise Lost record to come out this year, I'll tell you that right now. I mentioned in my Black Braid review that ending albums with covers wasn't a great idea, and they served better as just like a bonus track for fans, like Hooded Menace has done on their last two records, and here it's the second last song and third full-on single. What the fuck? I kid. I didn't like the cover on that record because it's a black metal band covering a black metal song. If you're going to give me something weird and left field. I mean, obviously within reason. I'm not asking for complete idiocy. I'm not asking for some folk metal band to cover, I don't know, Gangnam Style in 2025. No one wants that, and I know that's not a good example because no one would ever do that. It's just, I was rattling something off the top of my head, and I don't know, I couldn't think of anything more realistic. Open Gangnam Style! Anyways, one of my favorite covers ever is Celtic Frost covering Mexican Radio. It sounds like a Celtic Frost song with only really the vocals giving it away, and you get a similar thing with this album's cover of Duran Duran's Save a Prayer. Hearing the core of that track come through Lass's tone just proves the point I was talking about earlier, and they also had to sort of make their own song, because if you really think about it, Save a Prayer is sort of just like bitty 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 with Simon Le Bon singing over it for most of the track. Big credit to Hari for all his vocal performances on the record, but especially for keeping this song from going off the rails by hitting it just right. And also for letting the gals do your makeup in the video. Big strong men being comfortable subverting gender norms. So have you seen the size of the thighs on that guy? We should have a thigh off. What you got? Send me your measurements. We'll see who's. I like it when people don't skip leg day. Also, this Wes Ben Scooter might be my favorite Hooded Menace album cover to date. Whatever happened with the logo on the last record is nowhere on site. Here, the choice of a red logo and yellow logo to contrast with the background instead of just picking something matching is just even more perfection. Sorry, we were talking about cover a lot, and then I just kept picturing it in my mind, and I couldn't not do a little segment on it. Hooded Menace, you better make a flag out of this thing, or I'm going to myself. You can't stop me. You legally can, but So if this record is a continuation of what was started on the Tritonius Bell, does that mean Hooded Menace is starting to rest on their laurels a bit, slowed down with the old age, try and capitalize on the success of the last record twice? Who cares? Because this record is better. So we are still trending up, 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 baby. Hooded Menace to the moon. But seriously, I thought the Ossuarium sound had more gas in the tank than just one album, and clearly the Bell sound had more legs, so I don't need to get a full shift every time. I trust Hooded Menace to push themselves every record, and a large style shift isn't the only way to do that. Like, the last track on Tritonius Bell sounded a bit like a leftover from Ossuarium Silhouettes Unhallowed, and as a result, it didn't really mesh with what is up with these names. Hooded Menace used to have simple album names, and then I become the Hooded Menace #1 internet personality who also can't speak good, and they start throwing these curveballs. Do they hate me? They might hate me. I might be very annoying because at least once on every single for this record, someone mentions me in the comments of the YouTube video. I don't have anything to do with this band, technically speaking. I've never even talked to them. Anyways, this record, on the other hand, is completely cohesive from front to back. I also think heavy metal is fun, but 80s heavy metal is more fun, making this the most pump you up a Hooded Menace album to date. So it feels like a band still striving to outdo themselves. And on Bell, the Out of Place track was the last track on the album. On here, from a track list construction perspective, I love that Hooded Menace put the Duran Duran cover as the second last track, and then the heaviest song, Into Haunted Oblivion, closes things out as a reminder that they'll do a fun cover, but they're still a real metal band. It kicks down the door with a ripping solo and the classic Hooded Menace sound. Play it for 'em. This album is really only missing one thing from being a 5 out of 5, and that's just shock, surprise, you know? If this album had followed Ossuarium, I would have been floored. But because I got a taste of this sound on the last record, the impact is dulled ever so slightly. It is easily my third favorite Hooded Menace record, though, and would go top of the A tier in my Hooded Menace tier list. I am so glad they partially revisited the sound on the last record and didn't move on the way they have in the past, because they took something great and made it better. Obviously, I'm a super fan. But we've also seen me say some pretty harsh things about bands I love in the past. So I still feel justified and correct when I say 4.5 out of 5. Big ol' smiley Blayne. The skulls. I know, that's gonna look horrifying. Today's episode is brought to you by the Hooded Menace Fan Club, which I run exclusively, because I would have paid out of pocket to do this review, I'll tell you what. But this, thankfully, I didn't have to do that, because we have a Patreon campaign. Y'all toss us a couple bucks. It allows us to do all this without having to do ads and just being able to talk about our favorite records, or sometimes records that we don't like, and we can say we don't like them because you guys give us money, and so we have freedom, independence. Woo! We have a bunch of great stuff going on over there. In addition to just you supporting the channel, you get access to a bunch of content. Every month we put up tip sheets with more records for you. Sam just put up the 3rd installment of his favorite metal albums ever over on there. But we're not done. We, of course, have shoutouts. I have 2 more records for you. Number 1, I can't. I really wish they hadn't released this record the same day as Hooded Menace, because I would have loved to review it, because I love Wode. They're releasing Uncrossing Keys on 20 Spin today as well. And if you would like some very heavy doom metal that is, you know, of the heavy, not the like, you know, kind of vibe, Dispossessed is releasing Dêmocide. It's not a demo. Carbonized Records, October 3rd today as well. So what did you think? Are you as excited about this Hooded Menace record as I am? Probably no one's as excited as me, but are you close in excitement? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Obviously, I want to talk about this record with people, so, you know, let me know in the comments below, or just come by twitch.tv/metalcomedy and yell at me about it, because I love that too.
From the shadows